Let me, first of all, thank you, Mr. President, for inviting me to join you at this extremely important forum, and in particular to participate in this very important panel discussion on a renewed global partnership for development. As has been said at pretty much every other session of this forum, much progress has already been made towards achieving the MDGs. And I believe that we mustn't be reluctant as a global community to applaud the progress that we have made thus far, to acknowledge the progress that we've made, to record our appreciation of the effort that has been exerted thus far by all of the partners, policy choices and efforts made by the developing world, fiscal choices made at a time of severe fiscal stress in the developed world, and we mustn't be oblivious to the fiscal realities that are confronted by most of the world that has traditionally been regarded as the donor community. The fact of the matter is that we have made considerable progress since Monterey, and as has been said at a number of sessions before, including one that I attended last night, the fact of the matter is that the eradication of poverty has never been as attainable as it is today. Having said that, we must be under no illusion about the magnitude of the task that's still before us. There's still a tremendous amount of work to be done if we are to achieve the MDGs, and in particular, if we are to achieve the MDGs in a framework that places sustainability as the paramount objective. And so I don't think that any of us, even as we applaud our achievements thus far, would be shy of acknowledging our collective underperformance against some of the goals that we set ourselves in the MDG framework. Foremost amongst these, I believe, would be in relation to MDG 8, whose underachievement has been striking in some regards. To some, it might come as no surprise that we have struggled to achieve some of the dimensions of MDG 8, particularly given the point that I have made on a number of other occasions. We are, even now, 5 decades on, still struggling to meet the 0.7% of GNI commitment. And I think it is a most regrettable state of affairs that only 5 countries thus far have been able to achieve that target, literally half a century after we set it. The fact of the matter is that as a global collective, we have not made nearly as much progress as we should have made towards achieving the ideals and the objectives of MDG 8. I believe that this collective underperformance in relation to MDG 8 will have to be a foremost consideration as we contemplate the key features of a renewed partnership, what I will call perhaps the post-2015 MDG 8. And as I reflect on the matter of a renewed partnership, I think of the following things. Firstly, that it's almost as a philosophical prerequisite, there must be a renewed commitment to partnership, to genuine partnership. Not just platitudinous statements of partnership or partnership based on the dependence of some on others or some kind of sentimentally motivated benevolence by some to others, but partnership based on an evident shared interest in global development. As I've described it elsewhere, there must be a deep-seated philosophical underpinning to the post-2015 MDG 8, if that's how you permit me to describe it, based on the recognition of development as a global public good, a clearly and rationally articulated conviction that underdevelopment in one corner of the world retards development in every other corner of the world, and that poverty reduction on one continent is good for wealth creation on every other continent of the world. So I would say, first of all, a renewed conviction of the global utility of development as a critical prerequisite and a philosophical commitment to partnership. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, I believe there must be, in defining the new global partnership or the renewed global partnership, there must be a commitment to cure the defects of MDG 8. And there's been a substantial amount of work that has examined, assessed our collective experience in implementing the MDGs, and in particular on MDG 8. And a number of, I believe, opportunities for strengthening the framework that was established by MDG 8 have been identified, including strengthening the existence of quantitative targets, the observability and measurability of some of the goals, the strengthening of a framework for accountability on delivering these goals, including a framework for holding the developed world accountable for delivery of commitment. And I go back again to the delivery of the 0.7% of GNI commitment in relation to ODI. The need for stronger alignment between the resource envelope that will be mobilized under this partnership and the resource requirements of the sustainable achievement of the rest of the goals. So I would say, firstly, the philosophical commitment. Secondly, an earnest effort to cure the defects that we have discovered existed in MDG 8. And thirdly, explicit recognition of a number of the overarching developments that are required in this global partnership for development. And I'll mention some of these. First of all, official development assistance, on which much has been said. Secondly, the global trading system, on which we have made woefully inadequate progress. Thirdly, the global intellectual property system, and I know that MDG 8 spoke about access to medicines, but of course intellectual property goes there are issues like educational materials, there are issues like ICT, proprietary ICT technology, and how these can be mobilized for development. Private flows for financing for development, and that has been addressed. I think you, Mr. Moderator, addressed that even in your opening remarks. In relation to ODA, there must be a binding commitment to deliver adequate volumes of high-quality, effective official development assistance, and like I said earlier, for holding the donor community accountable for honoring this commitment, for actually delivering this commitment. Secondly, in relation to trade negotiations, we must, as a global community, commit ourselves to concluding a development-oriented global trading system. Thirdly, like I said, in relation to global intellectual property, any new partnership for development must confront the question of whether the global intellectual property system how it is contributing to or retarding development, and how it can be better aligned to achieve more effective development outcomes. In relation to private flows, increasingly, flows like foreign direct investment have taken on and will take on a greater significance, but I think there needs to be a reflection on how the major financial capitals of the world can better incentivize private flows, including FDI flows, for development objectives. And I have some thoughts on that. I wouldn't elaborate on them now, but it's something we can return to subsequently. And finally, Mr. Chairman, the paramountcy of the sustainability imperative. We live in a world today where it is no longer acceptable that development today be achieved at the expense of development tomorrow, or at the expense of the interests of the generations that are yet to come. And so placing the sustainability dimension at the helm, or the paramount peak of the development agenda, I would suggest be one of the critical features. So I would perhaps stop there, Mr. Chairman, simply to say that, like I said, firstly, the philosophical commitment. Secondly, learning the lessons from MDG 8 and its implementation. And thirdly, ensuring that all of the broad systemic or thematic areas, whether it be trade, ODA, the global financial system, etc., be addressed, be elements of this new global partnership. I'll stop there, Mr. President and Mr. Chairman, and at the appropriate time, be happy to take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much for very